Enterprise from Vitrek Corporation. This is a piece of software used to easily set up test, document your test, and view results. This piece of software is used with the V7X series of HiPot testers or the 95X series of HiPot testers. So I just want to show you a couple of quick things about how to run it. And I'm going to start off. You'll see there's a series of tabs at the top: System Configure, Test Sequence, Run Test Sequence, Show Me the Reports, your Utilities, and your Administrative Controls. Okay, so I'm on the first tab here called System Configure, and I can connect up to a V7X tester via either RS-232 or USB. If this is a 95X tester, then I could also use Ethernet as well. Now, what you do is you just on the tester you specify which one you're using, and I've already told the tester that I'm using RS-232. I just go into the config menu on the tester, and then I set the software here to RS-232, and I click Test the Interface, and you see it pass. So this is a way to test your communications, and it's how I know that it's working properly. Once I do that, I click Save or Save As, and it's important to do that, and the reason why is because we're going to go over to another tab, and if you don't do that, it's going to forget how to connect. So you want to hit Save or Save As. When it's time to create a test sequence, okay, all you do is you can say New, and from there you can come in and you can specify which test you want to run. So this is DCW, that's DC withstand test, also known as a HiPot test in DC. That's AC withstand test, also a HiPot. Here is the IR or insulation resistance. Here is GB or ground bond testing. This is continuity, is it wired, connected? And this system can also be used to control either an internal switch matrix or an external switch matrix. If it's an internal, then you're using a V76, V77, or you might be using an external 964i tester. But I'm not going to show you that today because we've covered that in another seminar that we did that was called Cable Test. If you want to see it used with a switch matrix, you can take a look at that video. It's on YouTube as well. In addition to that, in the steps, I can say pause, or I can put a user hold, okay? So a pause says wait so long, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and a user hold says wait until I'm ready for you, okay? So that's all you do. If I want to do a test, I just say New, and if I want to, I can give it a name. It automatically defaulted, you can see here, to DCW. I can specify the test voltage level, and I can specify both the ramp time in seconds, like ramp up to the voltage over 3 seconds, or I can also specify a slew rate on voltage. How fast do you want to increase? Okay, so you notice I've got my tooltips on, that if I hover over something, it comes up and tells you exactly what it does. Dwell is how long I stay at that voltage. You know, whether the test requires 1 second or 60 seconds, it doesn't really matter to us. Now, test measurements, this is a DC withstand test. So what we're doing is we're looking at the current, and there is typically a little bit of leakage no matter what you're testing. So you can specify a minimum amount of leakage current, and you would do that in the, well, just to make sure you're connected up, as an example. And you can also specify a maximum amount of leakage current. So right now I've got no max, but I can specify here and it will fail. Now, some DUTs are grounded, and we make the measurement a little differently depending on whether it's grounded or isolated. You just tell us which one. And some DUTs are capacitive, so that means it takes more drive current to do the test for a capacitive type circuit. You just tell us what it is right there. So that is the DC withstand test. And I've already done a setup over here, so I'm just going to show you real quick. Here is demo 1, and I'll just quick run. And that's how long it takes. So what you can see is I tested this. It's just a piece of plastic at 5 kV. And the leakage current, actually it shows negative leakage current here, but look how small that is. It's just a tiny little bit. And usually that means there's a little bit of capacitance and it discharged a little bit in here. So that's what it looks like. If you want to get more involved when you do the test setups, for instance, I did another one which was step 2, and in demo 2, you can see I set it up to do a DC withstand and an AC withstand and an insulation resistance. And then I told it to hold until I change the wires, and then I'm going to do a continuity test. So let's run that and just see how that goes. That's demo 2. So there's the DC withstand, there's the AC withstand, there's the insulation resistance, and now it says hold. And it gives me this message, says connect leads for continuity. So I'm going to connect my leads. And then I'm going to say continue. And there's your continuity test. And that's it. So I can take this one more step up. In the third set of tests, I also added a ground bond, hold and connect for ground bond. So let's run that test and see how that does. So you can see this is basically a 5 or 7 step test, and it's very easy to run. We'll do it from right here. Demo 3, run. There's DC withstand, AC withstand, insulation resistance. Now it says hold and connect for continuity. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to continue. There's the continuity. Now it says hold and connect leads for ground bond. So I'm going to do that. The V7X can put out up to 30 amps of current, and the 95X can put out up to 40 amps of current. So that's it. That's a 7-step test. That's how easy it is to do. Now let me show you a couple of more features that you can use. So if we go back to the test sequence, I showed you there's a set of tabs up here, but there's also a set of tabs here. And so right here, there's a set called General Settings. And you usually don't have to play with these very often, but you can test at different frequencies. And this, the 95X, depending on the tester, the 95X can test up to, I want to say, 500 or 900 hertz. And we can ramp fast, ramping down, or slower if you want to make sure it's more protected, your DOT. We can also turn on arc detect. And here it's looking for an arc that's at least 10 milliamps. We can also end the insulation resistance end on fail, pass, time, or steady. And on fail, we can stop or continue. So some people, when it fails a test, you want it to stop, but other people want to keep gathering data, so they want to just keep going. Now, you can click this, and if the test fails, it can save to a CSV file or a PDF file. You can also tell it to append with a serial number. And you can do the same thing if it passes. So you have automatic save depending on what you want to do here. You can put in the general settings the model number, and you can say require a serial number when you run, and the serial number should be so many characters. Okay. So you can also not only auto save but auto print. So if it fails, send to a printer. If it passes, send to a printer. And we have various levels of detail you can put into that report. So in addition to that, you can also put in your own JPEG in here. And the JPEG can basically be a picture of how to connect things up. So for instance, I paused when I wanted to do a continuity test. Now I paused when I wanted to do the ground bond, and I reconnected. So here you can go in and change it all so that to give the technician instructions on how to do this. Okay, and you can also say, show this before you run the test. So, okay, you hit run, and it's going to bring this up, and it's going to show the technician connect it like this. Okay, so those are a couple more tabs down here, and then when you're done, you've got these reports. And what I like about this is it saves reports for months and months. This one piece of software can be used with multiple testers out there. And so you could basically collect data from 4 or 5 testers with this. And if you want to see the results, like for instance, this last one I just did, there's the results. And notice that it has all 7 steps that we did. And I can hit DC withstand, AC withstand, and you notice the graphs and data changing. I can see step by step. Oh, there's nothing there. That's because it was a hold step. There's continuity, and there's the actual graph of the resistance versus time. And there's your ground bond right there. So all of this data is stored. If you put in a model number and serial number, it's going to store all of that for you. And I didn't mention this, but when you go to run the test sequence, you see there's a spot here to put the model number and the serial number. Well, it turns out you can also use a standard barcode reader. It will read your barcode, either QC code or a regular barcode, and it can fill that in automatically for you. So that's a nice feature to have. And then the last thing is admins. So you can have a list of users in here, and these users can have their each different capabilities. You can have an admin, you can have a normal user, and someone who's only authorized to run, okay, the test itself. Each can have their own password, and you can say which sequences belong to each person so that they can't run the wrong ones. And you can control different things like who has the ability to run a test, who can send files to testers, and so forth. So a lot of control, all admin control. So that's it. That's how easy it is to use Quick Test Enterprise. You can run both the V7X and the 95Is from the front panel. I find this to be a lot easier than the front panel, but you know, each has their own preference. And like I said, there is another video in YouTube on doing cable test where it shows how to do external switches. Remember that using an external switch, I wouldn't have to pause and change my wiring. I can do that all in an automated manner. So I hope that helps, and happy testing. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. This is our contact information, and we look forward to talking with you, and thank you for stopping by today.